Wrist down now, Noah?
No, it's a preseason game. Relax.
The Browns have just come off hosting the Rams in the final preseason game, in which they won. That's the good news. Browns went 3-0 in preseason. But the
Undefeated, baby.
undefeated, we won't talk about the last time they went undefeated. It doesn't matter. That being said, we had some interesting moments, particularly at quarterback. I want to break down the game, Noah, and talk about, we'll touch on each position lightly, but the big story here is QB. We played four. We started Joe Flacco, got kind of a tune-up game in for him, a couple series, looked pretty good. We then went with Gabriel, then Shador, and then Tyler Huntley, who we've already dropped and parted ways with. Where do you want to start in that four quarterback lineup?
Let's just go down the line. We'll talk about them in which they checked into the game. Joe Flacco, to me, looked amazing. He went 9 for 10, 71 yards, a touchdown. He had one bad ball. It was the first ball he threw. It was a little high to Jerry Jeudy. After that, the offense looked solid with Flacco at the helms. I've got no complaints. Do you have any complaints about Flacco's performance?
No, a 129.6 passer rating. I did like in the very beginning he looked a little rusty, not in a bad way at all. I didn't think he looked bad, but it's exactly why you have a tune-up game like this, and Coach
Right.
Stefanski talked to that, and I think he makes a great point. But no, he looked incredible. He looks like the guy. If you were to ever question somebody else being the guy this year, you're insane because it's Flacco and it's been Flacco.
It is Flacco. It makes sense, especially with the gauntlet that starts this Browns NFL season, the 6 games they have before their bye week. Playing a lot
Yeah.
of great teams makes total sense to me to start Flacco, especially because of what we saw out of not one, but both of the rookies, as well as Kenny Pickett being hurt, which I think is a great transition to go into what was an absolutely awesome game, in my opinion. And I've been harsh on the kid for one Dylan Gabriel. Do you agree?
Well,
For those who are just listening to the audio version only, Erik is wearing a Dylan Gabriel UCF T-shirt that was courtesy of me for his birthday. That shirt is awesome. It is literally just Dylan Gabriel's face on it, but I'm glad you're wearing it, man.
in UCF colors, yeah. Me, Noah, and our friend Evan, we always have gag gifts for our birthdays, and they showed me this, and I'm like, oh, that's too good. I can't wait to wear that on the show. But Gabriel looked good. He looks comfortable in the pocket. You're seeing some highlights here. Makes his reads and he does his progressions, and if he has to check down, he checks down. He looks like a guy that's used to a pro style offense out there. Obviously, we're comparing all of the quarterbacks. You call him a solid backup, that he'll enter that role and be like a long-standing backup. Think Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe. I don't completely disagree with you here because he looks solid. If he keeps developing, I'm not sure he couldn't be a decent starter. He's a guy that doesn't make a lot of mistakes, which is great.
Yeah, he could be a decent starter, maybe. I still put him in my mind in that backup role. He runs an offense to a T, how it's supposed to work. And that's
Hmm.
what makes a great backup a great backup. He went out there and looked fantastic, especially in the 2 minute drill. High pressure situation gets us into the end zone. Yes, the tight end was wide open in the end zone, but of
But
course,
86-yard drive, I mean,
right, and he
yeah,
he
credit
made the
where it's
right read
due.
at the end of the day, so who cares? It doesn't matter if it's a busted coverage or not, in my opinion. Dylan Gabriel, this whole game to me showed exactly what the Browns' mindset is of Dylan Gabriel being steps ahead of Shador, of being able to process the game. It showed its hand. It showed exactly what we have heard from Berea since the fact that Shador was listed lower on the depth chart. And Dylan Gabriel impressed me. I can't say anything other than the fact that Dylan Gabriel impressed me. I know people are going to say, "Oh, he took the checkdowns or the easy throws." He scored in 2 minutes.
He
You
was
gotta
12 of
love it.
19 for 129. I mean, that's not just taking checkdowns. Yeah, he looked like what the Browns, if for some reason we need to play a backup, which we probably know will happen at some point this season, he looked like a guy that could come in and be steady. And that's exactly what you want and what you need. You need a guy that's not going to turn the ball over, that's going to be able to make checkdowns and not, force the ball in there, especially with this defense, because we have a defense that's shaping up to look really good. I don't want to jinx us because we haven't played any meaningful football, but it seems like a team that can scrape by on some wins if you can uh, not turn the ball over and get off the field on defense.
Yeah, 100%. Dylan Gabriel, to me, he passed with flying colors. He looked awesome today. He did everything right. Um, there was a couple times he had some missed throws. He shot a little high, blase, blah. But
It's going to happen.
you can't complain about what he did. And if his role is to be a backup for this team, and they like him because of that, with some upside starting potential, depending on what happens in the draft next year, the development of Shador Sanders, blase, blah. Everything he did in this game checked a box for me that I did not see last week. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I and the rest of the media who want to go after him because of Shador Sanders and the hype that he brings, he gave us the ability to talk about him like that last week. He didn't give us anything this week to talk badly, talk poorly on him. So I'm happy overall.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of Shador, let's move on to him because the biggest story here, I think, is that you can't criticize him. And what I mean by that is the national media has been a little crazy when it comes to Shador. Um, whether you're a stan or you're against him, I mean, either way, it's inflammatory.
Yeah.
But I think that some healthy criticism is due here. He is still drifting in the pocket. He's holding onto the ball far too long. He went 3 for 6 for 14 yards and was sacked 5 times. Granted, his backup offensive line didn't exactly help him,
Listen, wait, no, because I'm not buying into the backup line thing anymore.
which he
He
looks
was
fine
play
here.
he was playing with the threes against threes. If it was Aaron Donald and company going up against the Browns' third offensive line, I would agree with that argument. But Shador was playing with like players on the field and was still drifting in the pocket, as you can see in the clips here, and having the issues that worried a lot of fans and critics alike in the preseason. So to you say, oh, well, maybe it's the O line and he shouldn't be getting sacked. He said it himself after the game that the sacks were on him. It's because he wasn't stepping up in the pocket, he was drifting back. You see him get sacked for 24 yards at one point because of that. So give me a break on the offensive line. He played with a lot of the same offensive line as Dylan Gabriel for the second half of the game. It was the fourth quarter when that changed. He had a bad game, but he's also a rookie
Certainly.
and he's allowed.
By the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw he had minus 41 yards rushing. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it was something crazy.
You've got to fix that, man. Listen, he is a rookie, and I think we need to cut him some slack here. First of all, the hate that he's getting, the Browns are getting, I should say, not that he's getting, saying that the Browns should let him go, let him be free, that we're the worst team that he could possibly be on, and we're mismanaging him, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying to ruin this young kid's career. Let me be very clear on something. I don't care what NFL team we're talking about. They want talent. It doesn't matter if you own dogs and fought them, as an
Right.
example.
Right.
If the talent wins out, like we cover up a lot in the NFL, right? I mean, look at our former quarterback, current quarterback, whatever you want to call him.
Deshaun
We're willing
Watson.
to put up with a lot, is what I'm trying to say. So to pretend like we're trying to tank this kid's career, that's not the case at all. I trust here in Coach Stefanski. And Noah will tell you, I'm not one to ride Stefanski's coattails at
He's
all.
not.
I will give him criticism when it's due, and it's due often. But in this case, it's not. I think that he's managing his quarterbacks. Shador wasn't a kid that needed to come in and get first team reps. There's a lot of people are saying, well, he's unprepared because he never got the reps. He's a rookie that was drafted late in the draft. That's
And
not
whether the talent lines up with his draft status or not, that's where he was drafted. That's where his career is leading right now. That's how they are managing him. They did not see him, just as the rest of the NFL did not see him as day one or day two talent. Whether you agree with it or not, me and Eric, I think, both personally disagree with it at the end of the day. We were high on Shador pre draft.
definitely.
But it's just, what are we doing? And you were talking a little bit about the fan base that surrounds him, and we're trying to sabotage Shador's career. I know, I don't know if you've been on X since the game. But this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with. Cam Justice, known reporter. I don't want to say great person. I don't know her personally, so I can't judge her character. But by all accounts, does her job and does her job well. We have people saying that she has ulterior motives to camouflage just how dark her soul is and how effed up her intentions are and this, that, and that. Like, what are we doing? You're making yourself look like a fool. You are not helping Shador by treating the
No.
fan base of the team that he's on and the media of the team that he's on like you are. Some of the comments that I've seen, some of the comments I've seen on my own post as a guy who supports Shador is completely absurd. I do not get what the mindset is of hate, 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 get him out of Cleveland. It'll fix everything. No, it won't.
And if reports are to be believed, and I'm not saying they should be, but there's reports that the NFL was saying, don't draft this kid, let's teach him a lesson. And the Browns are the only ones that stood up and drafted him. So I feel like it's weird that people all of a sudden forget that we took a flyer on him when clearly he wasn't really in our plans, but he fell to us in a position where we felt that made sense. And yet they're getting the hate here. It makes zero sense. And this weird fandom that you're not able to criticize somebody. The world's not out to get Shador. I'm sorry, they're just not.
No. And that's the best thing too, is you say we took a flyer. I would argue that we took more than a flyer because they traded up to get him. They
Hmm.
traded higher up to get him with a better selection and get rid of the rest of their capital they had in the 2025 NFL draft. I know we
Which
probably want to get to Huntley. I want to bring up one last thing, the thing that I think is the craziest out of all of this so far. You want to see the tweet?
let's see it.
Colin Cowherd defended Cleveland and said, suddenly Penn grad, two-time NFL Coach of the Year, perpetually calm in the face of chaos, Kevin Stefanski, with a couple of 11-1 seasons in Cleveland of all places, doesn't understand quarterback evaluation. Okay, sure, yeah, you bet. He did throw a little jab in there about Cleveland of all places, but I get what he's saying because it's the damn Cleveland Browns. But the
Right,
fact
yeah.
that we're at the point that Colin Cowherd, of all analysts, are defending our city, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's a weird narrative, and it's not doing the thing is that, and you said it, it's not doing Shador any favors at all. The fact that it's going to follow him in a negative way, this makes teams not want to give him a chance. Say we do end up cutting him down the road or trying to trade for him, this doesn't help when teams look at everything surrounding him. They don't want to
Right.
deal with that shit.
No, they don't want to deal with it at all. And this is kind of a good transition to go talk about how Shador actually got pulled for the 2 minute drill and put in Tyler Huntley. Something I didn't like, and I'm sorry, this is a fair criticism in my opinion, was Shador's body language for most of the second half of this game and in that moment where he got pulled. The body language was not there of a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. What do you
But
think, Eric?
to be fair to him, and I want to give him a little credit,
Yeah,
he didn't know. He thought he was going back in. He said he was on the bike, he was warming up his legs. I think he was surprised by it. Obviously, he didn't have a good game. Listen, at the end of the day, this is a kid we're talking about.
right.
I don't know his age, 21, 22. He's not that
23.
old.
He's older, I think. Go
Okay,
ahead.
but you get my point. His brain is still developing. It's not fully developed. I
Right.
think you could cut him some slack here. I think he felt rough after his performance. He knew that. He knew he had a chance to have one final drive potentially to turn that around, and it was stripped from him for a guy that was never going to be here in Cleveland. He's already gone. So I understand it a little bit. I get what you're saying. You don't want to see that on the sideline, but I think he can get a pass here.
I again, I've obviously played football and I understand frustration and how some of these things go, but this is giving another reason to some of the narratives that have surrounded this guy, whether it be because of his fall in the draft or whatnot. It's just something I feel like we don't want to see out of him as he's shown so much progress in terms of changing the narrative around him. And again, I never agreed with the narrative around him of him being cocky or arrogant or not knowing football when all he's done his whole life is football. The dude hasn't even sipped a beer before. It's
There is an
just,
arrogance. Let's not pretend there's not an arrogance.
I don't think
Any
there's
guys
an
whose
arrogance.
trademark is showing off his expensive watch, that's a little cockiness, sure.
But you're allowed to be cocky in a way.
I'm
Arrogance,
not
I
saying you
mean,
can't, but that's the definition of what you're saying he's not. He is a little, and that's
look,
fine. I like that swagger. I think a quarterback needs that.
swagger's the word you're looking for, though, Eric. Um, that is needed in a quarterback. Arrogance in terms of acting like he owns the place or walking in and not having a great meeting or whatever some of the rumors were around the draft is more
The
so what I
draft,
was
yeah.
referring to.
But
Um,
listen, that could be true. Clearly, he's been humbled. And where that goes from here, where his career goes, I don't know. And say what you will, whether or not the Sanders kids needed to be humbled, I don't want to go down that path. Shiloh was just cut, by the way, after
yeah,
throwing a punch in a preseason game. So I think there's this perception around the family because their dad is so loud. He's prime time.
yeah.
And it stems from that, and then the kids weren't exactly quiet either. They flaunt their wealth, etc. Again, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying you should blame a young 20-some-year-old kid for doing any of that, but you got to take a little of the heat with it when you do that.
Yeah, I get it to an extent, but I still think a lot of that is overblown and things we've seen not matter in the past for players that succeed. To get
Baker
back on
Mayfield's a
track, though,
good example. Yeah, I'm not saying it matters. I'm just saying it's there.
Tyler Huntley goes in, wins the game, obviously, despite he almost throwing a pick six, or not a
Right.
pick six, but an interception to start his drive, but it gets called back. What were your thoughts of him putting Huntley in? Were you surprised by it? Did it make sense because of Shador's play?
I didn't get it in the sense that we weren't playing for anything. You know that you're cutting Huntley on they didn't even wait till Monday. They cut him immediately, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you knew that he was finding his own ride home. It was in Cleveland, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Um, so what was the point? Why not throw either Gabriel or Shador in and see what they can do in a 2-minute offense? Um, I don't understand it myself, but I didn't care either. Again, it's a meaningless game. I didn't care if we won or lost, etc. So it didn't bother me.
So to me, I'm curious, and this goes back to talking about the body language thing and Shador's performance overall, and some of the mumblings we've heard behind in the background about him just being a step slower in terms of picking up the offense compared to Dylan Gabriel. And I wonder, because it's a game that doesn't matter, because it was a preseason game where he was not performing well, Stefanski wanted to see, or the coaching staff, whether that be Tommy Reese, the offensive coordinator, whatever, the quarterback coach. I wonder if they wanted to see how he'd react to that situation a little bit because of some of the character concerns that floated out there. Again, I don't buy into them, and I've always thought he was a solid dude. He was just a confident football player, and he's primetime son, so why not? So I'm curious if it was a little bit of a heat check in the face of adversity to see how
I hope
Sanders would
not.
react. Why do you say that?
Because if you've gone all the way through camp and before camp practices, it's that you've been around this kid for a long time at that point. So to
Yeah,
try to catch him up in some sort of way, I don't like that style of coaching personally. And I don't see Stefanski that way, for the record. I don't think that's what he was doing, but I get what you're saying. You're trying to see what a guy's made of. I don't like that.
I've just seen it multiple times in my own personal life around the game of football that to me it could make some sense. I don't know if Stefanski is that type of coach whatsoever. I don't think we've ever seen him do something like that in the past.
Right. You're supposed to be
Well,
professionals too. This is a different level. I know you played college football, and it's not taking anything away from you. But
no, I get what you're saying.
these are guys going to it's exactly why Urban Meyer didn't work out at Jacksonville, because these are guys making a lot of money to go to a job and be a professional. And yes, sometimes character things happen. Don't get me wrong; it's still the NFL. But I think there's a different expectation there. So to try to uncover that character flaw in that type of way. I don't see it from this coaching staff.
Hey, I was just floating an idea I had when I thought about the situation more once I was off my boat and not having as many libations as I was having during the game and whatnot. Trying to think of making sense of that situation because obviously there was more to it than just, oh, Huntley's going to get a couple snaps to end the game. I don't think that was in the game plan per se. I think they just did it in reaction to Shador's performance. And to me, at the end of the day, I know we should probably move on and talk a little bit about the rest of the roster still. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that's frustrating to me is the
Hmm.
fact that Shador looked so good and looked to be moving away from some of those bad habits that worried me about his play at Colorado to then come into this game and kind of fall back into him. We're talking about that pocket drift and taking sacks and whatnot again. Hopefully it's just a blip in the road. Remember, Dylan Gabriel had a blip in the road early on camp. He couldn't get a good practice together to save his life, and now he looks like he's on the up and up. I hope this is just a rookie blip for him because I still do believe and still want to put up my wrist and be legendary because I think he has all the tools in there to be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got to develop. That's what you do. And I'm hoping we take a slow approach. And he could be a really exciting guy to build your team around.
Yeah,
So if they take that slow and measured approach, which is not the Cleveland Browns way, normally we're so desperate at quarterback, we're throwing rookies in there. The fact that we're not doing that, it's a good thing. I know fans don't think so, but it is a
right.
good thing.
That's what I was gonna say too. How many times in the past have you let a quarterback sit and they flourish into something amazing? Mahomes had a lot of things wrong with his game out of college. All the talent in the world, a bazooka attached to his arm for a throwing arm, but he sat for a year and then
Hmm.
finally played, and he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying Shador is going to be Patrick Mahomes, but there's so many examples of the wait and see game making way more sense for a young quarterback, especially with flaws in their game, than just feeding them to the wolves because you think Shador is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Which, to be fair to Patrick Mahomes, though, he sat for a year behind a guy that they paid a lot of money to in Alex Smith, and
Fair,
then they
yeah,
still kind of screwed Alex Smith.
yeah.
People thought so. I do want to move on though and talk about some other positions. Let's go with receiver next. Obviously, it's a natural kind of point next.
Deontay Johnson caught a football,
He
Eric.
did catch a football. Unfortunately for him, Jamari Thrash had a much bigger game, having 42 yards on 3 receptions, but they really spread the ball around. I'm curious your take here. Who stood out? I will say for me, one of the standouts is Harold Fannin Jr.
Yeah, that
Obviously,
was
he
my answer.
caught that touchdown pass, but he's one of the guys that we've talked about it. It's going to be a pretty heavy tight end sets that we run. I like that we're seeing that out of the number 2 guy. And how about Dylan Sampson? He didn't do a lot on the ground. He only had 2 carries, but he did have a 14-yard reception that looked really good early on.
Yeah, I was really happy with Dylan Sampson. Them putting him in that starting running back role right away tells me a lot of good. They've seen a lot of good things out of the kid, which is two thumbs up for me. Let's keep it rolling, and hopefully the Judkins thing gets ironed out as soon as possible. Harold Fannin stood out to me too. Obviously, he had his first catch. He got the ball right next to the dog pound. He's from the area. It was a cool little moment. Um, Deontay Johnson did stick out for me just because he caught a football, and we've been joking about it on the show for weeks now. And I've been joking about it on Twitter for a little bit as well. But overall, the everything looks as it seems and gets me excited. Again, I don't have a lot of high hopes for the Cleveland Browns this year, but I feel like I'm at least going to be entertained and compared to whatever the hell that mess was last season.
Speaking of the run game, though, it sure feels like because we saw a lot out of Pierre Strong, it sure feels like Strong and Ford are going to be put on the back burner real soon.
Yeah, 100%. Strong has never been a back that makes sense to me in terms of playing real downs in the NFL. He hasn't ever shown me anything. Ford in limited roles, I think, makes sense. But if Dylan Sampson is looking good, and I think we all know what Judkins can be as soon as he steps foot on an
Mhm.
NFL field, I think we will be completely golden and moving forward in a good direction.
What about Amani Marshall? I mean, he got
That's
a lot of
another name.
touches.
That's another name I like as well. I kind of hope he makes it on the roster over Pierre Strong, and that's your 1, 2, 3 between him, Ford, and of course Dylan Sampson. He has been a bright spot for this team this offseason, this preseason, this getting ready for the regular season. So giving him some sort of role on the roster makes 110% sense to me. How many times have we seen an undrafted guy actually stick at the running back position? So that doesn't really deter me from anything. We'll see though. I'm excited to see what this roster cut down looks like and talk about it with you later this week.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of running backs, you mentioned Quinshawn Judkins. I was watching highlights of the other duo of that Buckeye duo, Travion Henderson for the Patriots. He's looking really good for them.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. It's hindsight's 2020. Like if we took Travion instead of Judkins, who was kind of ranked a little bit higher, but both were in like the same realm of second, third round running back. I wonder how we would be feeling right now because we don't have to deal with the Judkins mess.
Right.
But in terms of fit and playing in the weather and running style and all that, I still do think Judkins is the best fit for the Stefanski offense.
Listen, I agree. I thought Judkins was the better back, and he made Henderson better.
Yeah.
But watching some of his highlights, Henderson returned a kickoff for 100 yards. He just put me right back into watching the Buckeyes last year, and it's like, damn, did we miss out on that?
Yeah. I want to move to the defense real quick. I don't
Okay.
think there's a lot of strong talking points just because a lot of the starters did not play. Obviously, Swessinger looked good. Mason Graham looked good again. They had a cool interview halfway through about how they're neighbors and all of that. But I want to give a shout out to my man, Aiden Huntington, who was announced to be making the roster as a UDFA. He
Uh
has
huh.
been lighting it up. He got to line up at fullback a little bit. I just want to say shout out because it feels this class, this entire rookie class, front to back, feels different in my opinion. I feel good about each and every one of these players in a way I don't think I felt in a while, especially with an Andrew Berry draft class. So I just want to give some props on the defensive side to Aiden Huntington for carving his path and making it to the orange and brown.
What do you think about, because if you hadn't said Huntington, I would have said the same. But and forgive me if I butcher this, I was impressed by Easton Mascarenas Arnold. He's another
Okay.
rookie out of USC. Um, at that linebacker position, he had a solid game. Um, he had six total, three solo tackles, six total tackles. He looked pretty solid, and I got to say, a position that I thought was a real negative for the Browns for years now, which is linebacker, it's really shaping into something interesting.
Yeah, with Schlesinger, with
Mhm.
Jerome Baker playing well, and him also being a Cleveland guy, so I'm excited to see him don the orange and brown for real and get out there and play some football. The linebackers, to me, the whole defense, minus what happens past cornerback 1 and 2, is going to be a real bright spot, and it's going to be real scary to go up against. Now, you might be able to score 14 on them, and we only score 10 because the offense is to be determined, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this entire defensive group because it has been awesome so far. And we're just talking preseason. That's without Miles Garrett. That's without heavy reps from the big hitters or any reps at cornerback for that matter. Newsom and Ward didn't play in this game, thankfully.
Yeah.
Um, I just can't wait, man. September 7th is almost here. And now that I know that I'm going to the game, of course, we're doing a live show from the Muni lot that game. It's going to be a good day. Brownstown is back, baby.
Scary moment, by the way. Ethan Posick going down briefly. I was holding my breath there when he was getting
Yeah.
helped off the field. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because he was down for a minute.
Yeah.
Thankfully, okay. One last thing I want to hit on real quick, and that is special teams, particularly the kicker. What's going to happen here? Because Dustin
I'm
Hopkins,
team
first of all, missed an extra point.
I'm team Schmidt, man. I'm team Schmidt all the
I'm with
way.
you, but are they going to make it happen?
I don't know if they're going to make it happen. There's a lot of money tied up to Dustin Hopkins. I could see them doing something crazy and carrying like two kickers because obviously roster construction and traditional roster construction doesn't matter as much this year. We're all but guaranteed to carry four quarterbacks. Some think we're going to
Right.
trade one. I don't know if that's going to be a thing that comes to fruition because the only one you're trading is Kenny Pickett, and I don't know what market is there for Kenny Pickett right now. But I'm Team Schmidt all the way. He has been poised under pressure. He has
Hit the
looked
game winner.
good. He is following the Brandon Aubrey, correct? Yes, the
Yeah.
Brandon Aubrey track record of being a UFL kicker to then make the NFL and succeed. So I'm in favor of that. When the going gets tough at the kicking position, you got to let them go, even if they were good for you at one time.
Every time Dustin Hopkins lines up to kick, even an extra point, one, it looks terrible. The extra point he made, I didn't think he made it.
Yeah.
Um, he just makes you nervous. He's not the guy. You've got to move on. I don't care what we paid him, what we owe him. That sunk cost, I think we move on from him.
If you can justify the sunk cost of Deshaun Watson, you can justify the sunk cost of a kicker. But that's just me personally.
Bingo.
I want to give Corey Bojorquez some credit,
Oh,
man, because
that
as
one
a
that hit the
punter,
one. Holy
yeah,
shit.
as a punter, I know you don't totally get all the credit in the world, but his name deserves to be in the realm of best players on the team, like Myles Garrett and all of that, because he is such a damn good punter. And I know it's
He
not a
is.
sexy position, but he deserves all the flowers in the world. He is absolutely awesome.
He averaged 51.3 yards per punt, his long of 67. Within the 20, though, were four, including one of the most beautiful punts I think I've ever seen. It literally hit at the half-yard line and bounced back. I think they got it at like the 4 or something like that. That was such a beautiful punt. It's an underrated position, in my opinion, because being able to flip the field like that can be huge.
100%. Bojorquez has been absolutely awesome for the Cleveland Browns. And all in all, undefeated in the preseason. I know that has some bad precedents with them going undefeated before going 0-16. But there's so many teams that go undefeated in the preseason and have either fantastic years, mid years, bad years, whatever type of year you want to talk about, that
Means
it doesn't
nothing.
matter. It means nothing at the end of the day. Your record truly doesn't matter. I know the bad omens out there, but I don't lean into that. I'm excited for September 7th. I'm excited to whoop up on the little bro Bengals and see what happens for the Browns in the 2025 season.
Which we will be at live from uni for that game. We're going to be doing a live show so we can talk to some fans. Come up to us. We might have some merch. I don't know. We're working on that. But
Talking
come
behind
check
the
us out.
scenes. For sure, man.
Awesome. Anything else before we get out of here?
Go Browns. It's Buckeye week. We're going to talk some Buckeyes this week here on the page as well. So stay tuned for that. And I appreciate you guys tuning in as always.
And make sure you check us out. All of our socials are at symbol the office CLE, but shows will be posted daily, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on YouTube. So check us out tomorrow again at 10 a.m.
Looking forward to talking more ball with you this week, man.
Me too. I cannot wait. All right. We'll see you guys next time.